Awesome.
Well, Mike, how's the offseason going so far?
It's been good. Been quick. Spent a lot of time in the portal, of course, and finished our roster, and it's slowed down since. So it's given us time to focus on these June workouts, which are right around the corner.
So there's already projections out. I'm sure you've seen them. I know that projections don't mean much, but Georgia projected in the field by Lenardi. A lot of people talking about your talent, being competitive in the SEC. What does this team project to look like in terms of its personality and lineup?
I like our depth. I like the balance in terms of the classes. This will be a much older team, much more experienced team than a year ago. Like the 3 freshmen that we're bringing in, complemented by the 5 guys that we got out of the portal. The 2 areas that I think we improved the most in, at least on paper, are 3-point makes and percentages, based on career numbers. We really upped those numbers, and then assist turnover ratio will take a major jump positively. Hopefully we can rebound it as well. Hopefully be as good defensively, but be a little bit different. We'll be smaller, we'll be faster, but those 2 offensive categories I think will be significantly improved. That's the hope, at least. On paper, it certainly looks as though we'll be better in those areas.
Is that going to allow you to play maybe a little bit differently
this
year than you did last year?
We'll be in the open floor more. We'll push tempo a lot more. We won't play as big. We'll play more smaller lineups, 4-guard lineups where 4 guys can shoot it, and a couple lineups potentially with, if some of these younger bigs can make a jump this fall, or we can play 5 guys on the perimeter a little bit. But yeah, I think overall we'll just be a better passing team and a better shooting team.
And I know this is old hat now with the way the game is, the game has changed, having replaced almost your entire team year after year after year. Is it become easier for you to do that, or is it still difficult?
I think everyone's gotten used to it by now. It's been a few springs in a row, where you dive into that portal and you try to play catch up and evaluate as many kids as you can and try to fast track relationships and see who the best fits are. But we really like the 5 we got out of the portal. Great people, complement each other well. Again, the experience with the assists, and the makes, and coming from a pretty high level, for a lot of these guys, or having played against high level teams and having had success against high level teams too.
What do you think you have to work with at the point guard position?
Boy, Jordan Ross is very good. He's really good from St. Mary's, a top 25 team last year, team that won the league, that Gonzaga played in, and played off the ball more, but 3-to-1 assist turnover ratio, arguably their best defensive guard on a top 10 defense in the country. A guy that's won a lot at every level. I've got a lot of confidence in him. Jeremiah Wilkinson, Smurf Millender, both those guys are a little different. Both those guys have more of a scoring mentality, but I think you got 3 guys that can play the point at any given time. With those 2 guys being, again, a little bit different than Jordan, where I think Jordan's emphasis, Jordan steps onto the floor wanting to help guys around him get better and get guys shots, and he can score it as well. But those 2 guys are thinking score first, in Smurf and Jeremiah. I like our backcourt.
How key was get Santo back to give you that
Huge.
solid in the middle?
Huge. Santo is huge, and it was a huge getting him back. We really like Santo and his upside, his ceiling. He's part of us. When you get a guy now to return for the second year, it's those guys are outliers now, right? So now he's entrenched in the culture and in our program, and I think Santo's got a chance to be a really good player.
What does that look like during those, I don't know what the period is, a few days when you're trying to learn if a player is going to go or stay in terms of numbers, and as it relates to Silas,
right?
Did Connecticut come with too big a number for Georgia, like different?
I have no idea what those numbers are. I really don't. All I can speak to is Georgia and our desire to have him return. Had a long sit down with him that Monday after we finished playing, and he put some thought to it. A few days later, we met again. Hey, I want to get the portal. I want to explore options, and that's part of what it is. I mean, it'd be hypocritical, of me to not support whatever decision he wanted to make. I'm for Silas Demery. I love him. He's a great kid. Helped us get to the NCAA tournament. He'll always be beloved at Georgia. I'm rooting like crazy for him to have success this year.
We talked at the end of last season about the momentum of going to the tournament and trying to use that. Do you feel like that resonated when you guys went in the portal?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if we weren't able to sell Silas Demery and Asa Newell, and the fact that we were able to get a 9 seed, that we were part of the most historical conference season, in college basketball history. I don't know that we get the guys that we got. So the momentum certainly helped us this spring.
Basketball's been so affected by everything. Like you mentioned, you get a guy come back for a second year, it's an outlier. It
Right.
really is what it is. What's your sense on the settlement, assuming it goes through? Is it gonna change things for the better? Have you guys kind of wrapped your mind around what it might do?
There's just a lot of uncertainty there, right? A lot of ambiguity. There's so many questions that need to be answered. I'm hopeful that you'd have a better chance with continuity in the future, but I don't know that for sure. I know that would be our desire at Georgia, especially with the guys that we're getting, like the 3 incoming freshmen that we've got coming in. Who knows? Are they going to be 1-year guy, 4-year guys? But I really like them. I think they have a chance to really add to our culture and put their own stamps on this program. So I'm all for continuity and development over time.
How much have you thought about all the changes and what needs to happen? Like Danny came out, said he's for collective bargaining.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you think that's an inevitability, that's what has to happen?
I'm gonna let those ADs worry about that stuff and the presidents, right? Give us the rules, we'll follow them. We'll abide by whatever the framework is and do the best we can, year in and year out. But I think a lot of it will be talked about this week. That's why those guys are here, and the administrators got a head start. They've been here a little bit earlier.
Mike, you mentioned the historic season, 14 teams in the NCAA tournament. 10 years ago, there were only 3.
Yeah.
Why the significant improvement in the SEC men's basketball?
I think there's a lot of reasons. It's been talked a lot about over the past few years. I think improved facilities. I think the uptick in recruiting. I think you probably had 3 or 4 coaches there that are high-level recruiters that joined the league about the same time. The SEC network, the national television exposure, I think probably as big a factor as anything else. And then we gained a little momentum, and then we rode that momentum. I think a factor probably hasn't been talked about a lot. I don't know. I don't read a ton, but the age of our league last year, the experience of our league was just incredible compared to the rest of the country, and I think that was a big part of the success of our league as well. We won't be as old of a league, but hopefully we can maintain that momentum that the SEC has in men's basketball.
Why did you want to add Todd to your staff?
Love Todd Abernathy. I've known him since he's 19 years old. I coached him 3 years at Ole Miss as his position coach. Watched a lot of film with him. Had a lot of lunches with him. Lived on the court with him, at times, and just have kind of followed his development over time. Dusty May hired him at FAU. He also worked for Andy Kennedy, who I worked for 5 years while we were coaching Todd. So there's a lot of familiarity there. He's a guy that's coached in the SEC. He's a former All-SEC player. He's a great human being. He's coached in the Final Four. He does a really good job with international recruiting, player development, scouting, all those things. But the international piece too is a strength that's a little bit unique for him that I think is coming more and more into play with today's landscape.
What are his strengths as like an on-court coach?
He was a hell of a point guard at Ole Miss. I don't know if you remember him, but player development. Mm-hmm. He's an offensive mind. He's got a really good feel there. Did a really good job with those guards at FAU, again, that went to the Final Four. One thing I'm looking for forever, I've been really fortunate to have really good cultures within staff, right? Really good staff chemistry, and he'll add to that. He was a great teammate. I witnessed it, again, for 3 years as his coach, as an assistant coach. But again, I'm really close with some of these guys that have worked with him too, and Akeem Miskadeen and Kyle Church and Dusty May and Andy Kennedy, of course, who was with him at
You talked about him having an offensive mind. Was that
Yeah.
kind of key to what you kind of were looking for when you
Yeah,
bring in
part of
somebody?
it. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways you can go with it, with an assistant coach. But his talent, his character, his ability to connect with young people, his ability as a teammate to connect with staff, because I like the way that we're heading. I think we have momentum going into next season, and I know exactly what Todd's going to bring, and I know how good of a teammate he's going to be to the rest of to our staff, player development, especially with guards, and then again that the international recruiting piece is something that I'm excited to dive into a little bit deeper with him.
What did you think of Danny White being named the National Athletic Director of the Year?
Boy, I thought it would be a tight race between him and Josh Brooks and Brian White, but I'm glad one of them won it. He's terrific. I just look forward to seeing him
Is he
tonight.
Brian's
deserving?
Huh?
Is he deserving, you think?
Oh, absolutely. You kidding me? He's killing it. Yeah, he does a great job. I'm really happy for him.
How pro? Oh, go ahead, Mark.
Do you have any non-conference games you want to share that are exciting?
Leland? I don't think so.
Leland, he's not the best player.
No.
He's stepping in. He's holds it here.
All right, I'll ask you instead. What's catching skill set? What's he bring to the table?
Ooh, he's 6'9", 6'10", and shoots it like a two guard. Good ball security guy too. One of these guys. He's gonna be really aggressive. He's gonna fire it up. And we're gonna welcome that. We're gonna embrace that. He's a guy that can fill it up. That can score big numbers in a hurry. And talented, versatile defender too. With length and a competitive streak.
What would be your overview of the freshmen that you guys are adding?
I think Kareem Stagg is one of the more underrated guys in the class. I think he's really talented. Can play a couple different spots up front. Obviously, Jacob Wilkins, we've all seen videos of him. His highlights are really high, right? Like his father. Just a really talented, high ceiling guy who's got a chance to be a heck of a player. And then Jackson McVeigh had a developmental year at OTE, and I thought he got better and better. But he brings a unique skill set with his ability to block shots at 7-1-ish and really make threes. He didn't do that consistently at OTE. That wasn't quite his role this year. But we envision him doing that in his future at Georgia, a stretch center that can block shots and make threes.
Ask about your recruitment of Jacob. Was that a hard recruit for you? I mean, his dad was
One
a
of the-
legend here and everything.
Yeah, one of the, in calling Dominique for the first time, it was, I was starstruck, obviously, as a little kid, just idolizing him and Mike and those guys, right? In fact, I tell a story. I wore 22 growing up as a little kid because my two favorite players. I couldn't, 23 or 21, I just couldn't quite decide, so I picked the one in the middle. I told Dominique that, but his conversations with Jacob, on the visit and spending time with them, personally are always fascinating, just to hear the stories of the legend that he is. But Jacob's running his own race. He's a different player. Again, really talented. He's got a lot of work ahead of him, and he knows that. But he's excited to embrace it and get ready to work here next week. We start next week.
Is he going to get much thicker or anything like that? Or,
He's not an
strength
overly big-boned guy, but he'll gain strength for sure. And he's competitive. He's really long, and his quick twitch ability, his sprinting, his running, his ability to change ends, his wind are all pretty elite, for a kid at his age.
Got time for two more questions.
Okay, I got two part of that.
Three.
How proactive are you in these meetings? I know one of the things on the table is the basketball tiebreaker for men's and women's, and I'm curious as to get a little more info on that. And then two,
Yeah.
when you're able to spend, I don't know if I'd call it downtime, but time with Kirby, what are those
Yeah.
conversations like? What do you guys talk shop, or where does that go?
A little bit, in fact, I just got off the flight with him, for hour and a half, and look forward to those times where I can try to pick his brain and figure out who, how one of the best of all time does it, and lean on him for some stuff. What's so unique and cool about Coach Smart is his affinity for all the other programs on campus. Obviously, it being his alma mater, but just him being at our games.
I was gonna say, do you notice it when he's at the games?
I don't notice it during the game, but I hear about it after the game. And then you see clips, we'll be showing in the portal, we'll be showing highlights, and I'll say, oh, there's Kirby front row, it's pretty cool. But he, and just talking with him, just, as briefly as, an hour ago on the flight, just knowing who our guys are, like he understands who our roster is, and he likes basketball, so those conversations are always fun. But in terms of the meetings here, over the next couple of days, it's just kind of hit and miss as to who's adding to the conversation and who's not, and how long the conversations go. I usually don't really dive into a lot of the stuff that's going to be talked about because we're going to talk about it a lot over these next couple of days. We'll have our fill of talking about all the issues, and Greg will come in and give us his 2 cents and his address, and always look forward to it.
One more? Anybody?
Was it touch and go with Somto, or did you guys feel good the whole time that he was staying?
No, I felt good about it.
Yeah.
I did, yeah. Really felt good about most of our guys. We were able to retain 4 guys that we believe in, that were a big part of what we did, and close on a couple others. We touched on Silas's thing, on his situation. Deshane Montgomery's was a little touch and go there. Didn't know which way it would go, but ultimately really happy for him, going to play for a great guy and a great coach at Dayton. And Sabo decided to head back home. So
Clemson?
RJ Godfrey, yeah, a little bit surprising there, a little bit disappointing, but happy for him. Wonderful kid. Was a huge part of what we did last year, but had a really good experience at the other place too, and so he's going back home where he started, and hope he has a great year. But overall, not just a huge surprise with any of those guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.